Hi, in this tutorial I'm gonna show you how to create a simple authentication functionality using Rails. And to let you know that there are some Ruby gems that allow you to set up a full authentication system from login, from sign in, sign out to password reset and etc. But we can use those gems, and in future videos I will show you how to use those gems, and specifically there is a gem called device that sets up the whole thing. But I'm doing this tutorial just to make you familiar with the Ruby with the Rails framework, and so you can learn how to make functionality. Okay, so let's get started. In the first place, I'm going to create a user model, okay, with four properties: full name, birth date, email and password. So running this command generates a migration file. This is our migration, create users.rb, the user.rb model file, and some test file that we will talk about later in other tutorials. But now I'm going to update my database. Okay, after that I'm going to create the controller for my user model, and another controller called login. This controller will allow me to inside that controller, which is the login controller, I am going to write the logic of the authentication. So I'm going to create the users controller, and then with the same command I'm going to create the logins controller. Okay, after that I will go to the config, the folder config, to the routes file here, and I'm going to resources users. So when I write this line here, Rails will generate the default RESTful routes for my users resource, and for the logins controller I'm not going to declare it as a resource like that, but I'm going to create some named routes. So like this, Rails will generate some RESTful routes, and for the logins controller I'm going to create some named routes. So to do that, I'm going to type get sign in to I don't want to make some I don't want to make mistakes there, so I'm going to copy and paste the code because I want to don't want to waste time. So course up, config routes, I'm going to copy those lines, okay, paste them here. So those are the named routes for the sign in for the logins controller. So the first this get route will get the new view that will allow the user to enter his credential and then hit the submit button. So when he hit the submit button, the logic of the authentication will be handled inside the create action inside the logins controller, and this route here is for logging out the user. Okay, so and finally I'm going to set the root route for my application. So to do that, you have to type the root keyword followed by the you can use the simple quote or double quotes. Here I'm going to specify users, the controller users, and the index file. Okay, no, sorry, so it will be the logins controller and the new. So that means when you first start your application, the application will automatically redirect you to the sign-in page, which is represented by the new view. Okay, so we are done with the routes.rb file. Let's close it. Okay, now I'm going to add the action inside of my controller. So let's start with the users controller. So inside my users, I will need the index, new, and create actions. So def index, def new, and finally def create. Okay, so this is my controller, and now inside my login controller I will use two actions. The first one is def new, so this action will handle and will get the new view for us. So we will have a view called the new under views logins. So this view will contain the authentication form, and we will have the second action, which is create, and inside this create action we will write the logic code that will handle the authentication functionality. After doing that, we will jump back to the users controller. Okay, so now I'm going to create the new view under views users. The new view will contain the form that will allow the user to create his account. So let's create this view. Okay, so users .erb file, I'm gonna call it new. So this is the file of my of the new view. So now I'm going to create my form. Okay, so when you are dealing with ERB file, you can so now there is some type. So inside the ERB file that correspond to your view, if you want to add some code that will be displayed for example into your view. For example, if I want to add a form, an input text, or if I want to add something that will be displayed inside my view, I have to add this kind of symbols, which is the percent symbol followed by equal sign, and so this kind of symbols. And if you want, for example, to write something inside your view, inside the code of your view, but you don't want this this code to be displayed. So for example, if you are writing some code, for example like an if statement, so if for example a is if a is bigger than b, so you don't want this string here to be displayed into your view. So here you will use this kind of notation, so without the equal sign. So for displaying into your view, you have to use this kind of symbols, and for writing something that you don't want to display inside your view, like writing some logic, some code that will not be displayed, you have to use this kind of code. So let me get rid of this code here. So now I'm going to use a form helper called form4. So this helper here allow me to create a form that is bind to an object. So inside, let's jump back to our users controller. So inside my new, here I'm going to create an user object. So this user object will be bind to this form, and how to this form helper, which is the form4. So how can I do that? So this form helper take this as parameter, so which is this object here, and then I'm going to add a block f. So f here represents a form builder object. Okay, here I'm going to close my block. So as you can see, the end will not be displayed into my view, so I use this kind of symbols. Okay, so now I will begin by adding some inputs to my form. So I will use this kind, so because here I'm going to output something to my view, so f dot text field, for example. So now I have created a text field inside my form. I want to bind this text field to a specific property of my user object. So our user model have some properties like full name, birth date, email, and password. So I want to bind this text field to a specific property of my user object. So to do that, type colon and type the name of the property that you want to bind to that input. So here I'm going to bind it to the full name property, and before that I'm going to display a label. So f dot label, so the text inside this label will be full name. Okay, and then let's jump to the next property, which is the date of birth date. Okay, so here birth date. Okay, here we are going to use a new form helper, which is the date select. So will allow us to enter a input of type the type date. So here I'm going to specify the birth date property, and for the two remaining properties, which are email and password, I'm going to copy and paste because they are of type input text field. So here I'm going to change it to email and specify the name of the property. Here we have password, and here password, and here I'm going to change it because I don't want when the user types his password, I don't want the characters to be revealed I want them to be in the form of dots. So here I to type password field, so the password will not be revealed in the screen. So yes, I forget the submit button, which is the most important thing. So here I'm going to add f.submit, and I will type register. So now I I've completed the sign up form. So I will go to my controller and write the necessary code to handle the sign up requests. Okay, so first of all, I'm going to create a private method. I'm gonna call it def user params. Okay, there is a how can I say, there is a problem that was found in Rails before in the previous version, which is the mass assignment problem. So here to resolve this problem, we have to use this solution. So we have to whitelist the attributes that we want them to be submitted inside our request. So when the users will send his request or submit his form, we want only some specific inputs to be submitted. For example, in our case, we want to submit the full name, the birth date, the email, and password. Only those attributes will be allowed. Other inputs will be filtered and will not be submitted. So to do that, I have to type params dot require user dot permit, and inside this function I will write the name of the attribute that will be whitelisted. So the first is full name, so full name. The second is birth date, and email and password. Okay, so those properties now are whitelisted and can be passed. Other than those other things than those properties cannot will be filtered and can be submitted inside our request. So now let me jump inside the create action. So I'm going to create a new user object, user dot new, and I will pass the user params, so user params to this object. So now if user if user dot save, so if the user is saved, I will redirect the user to the root URL so he can perform the authentication and log into the application, so to the root path. And else if the user didn't provide sufficient information and he left some blank, he didn't for example, if he let's say in general, let's not talk about the input validation right now. If the user has not been saved to my database, so I will redirect him to the same page, which is the new user path. So Rails provide we declared the as I said before, Rails provides some default routes which are the RESTful routes for my user resource. So as you can see, it provides those this kind of named routes to my model, so I can use them, and it saves a lot of time. So here, if the user is saved, it will redirect me to the root path. So if you don't know which is the root path, the root path is defined here. So my root path is login the hashtag new. So new returns the new view, which is the sign up page. Okay, so and else if the user is not saved, so it will redirect me to the new user path, and new user path returns the the same page, which is the sign up view. Okay, so after doing that, I think I will try to run my application. No, before that I want to complete the whole functionality, and then we will run it once for all. Okay, so I will close the users controller now, and the new view, and now we will jump to the logins controller, and now we will implement the authentication logic. So now, in the first place, we are going to create the login view, which will be returned by the new action. So inside the under views logins, I'm going to create a new view called new. So here I will leave this action blank, because like that it will just return the new view, and all we need is returning the new view here. So I will jump to my new view and I will create it, and now I'm going to create the form that will allow the user to enter his credential and log in to the application. So in the previous example of the user sign up form, we used the form for helper, which is help us to bind our form, which is a form binded to a specific object. In our case here, we are inside the session logins controller. In this case, we have no model called session. We are not dealing with an object, so we will be using another type of helper, which is the form tag helper. So the form tag helper takes two arguments. So as you can see here, there is no object here. There is no object called session, because we don't have a model called session. But this form will accept two strings, which are the email and password, and those inputs will be checked if they exist in the database, and if they exist in our users data table, we will redirect the user to the application, and he will be logged in. And if they do not exist, or the credentials are invalid, the user will be redirected to the same page, which is the sign-in page. Okay, so the form tag will accept two parameters. The first one is the path, so which is the sign-in path. Okay, and the next parameter is the method parameter. So the method here will be post parameter. Okay, so now we will start adding the items inside our form. So the first one is a simple label tag. So as you can see, there is no block here. We are not creating the form or builder object. This is just a simple label tag. So here this label contains email, and we will have a text field tag, and this text field, I'm gonna give it a name, so it will be email. Okay, so br, and then let me copy and paste the whole thing here, and okay, so I'm gonna change it to password, and here I'm gonna name it password. And finally, let's not forget the submit tag. I'm gonna call it login. Okay, so this is our login form. So our login form is completed. So let me close this file, and now we will we'll begin by writing some real code. Okay, now we will write the logic that stands behind the logic, behind the the authentication a functionality. Okay, so here now we will jump to the helpers folder. So helpers are just modules. So if you don't know what are modules, you can check my Ruby tutorials in which I explain and show you the utility of using modules. So when you create a controller, Rails will generate a helper that corresponds to that model. So we have created the logins and users controller. So we have logins and users helper, and even the application, we have the application controller that have the application helper. So let me close the, or let me just leave it opened. So I will open the logins helper. Okay, so now inside the logins helper, and as you can see, it's a simple module. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to include this login helper inside my application helper, because we are going to write some method that will allow us to that will be used inside our view. So if I include my login helper inside my application controller, I can use those methods defined here inside the logins helper inside my views. So inside my application controller, I'm going to include login helper. So include, so user helper, logins helper. Okay, so this is done. Okay, so we will start by creating our first method here. So let me just make some space here. The first method will be login method. So this method will allow me to get the ID of the current user, so, and start inside a session. So a session is an object you use provided by Rails that will allow us to store some information that which is the user ID in our case, and after we will retrieve this the information stored inside the session object to use it for many purposes. Okay, so session will get user dot ID. So this is my first method. The second method that we are going to create is the current user method. The current user method allows us to get the current user which is logged. So after logging in, I want to get the name, for example, of the current user to display it inside my application. I want to get I want to get the current user so I can display his information inside a profile page, for example. So this is the method that will allow us to do that. So I'm going to create an instance variable. User dot find by. Okay, so find by session the user ID. Okay, so using that, and the final method is logit in, and this method will allow us to check if the user is is logged in or not. So if he is logged in, we will display certain information, and if he is not logged in, we will display other information like the sign out link, etc. So here I'm going to type current user new, and there is another method that I will get, because I am lazy and I don't want to write the whole code now, so I'm going to get the code from my other project. So app helper, login helper, open this in gedit. So this is my authenticate method. So let me close this one here, and this is the authenticate method that will receive as parameter email and password, and it will check inside my database if there is a user record that contains that email and that password provided by the user. So if that exists, it will return that user, and if it does not exist, it will return nil. Okay, so now let's jump back to the create action inside our logins controller, and let's do the final steps. So here I'm going to use a new variable, and inside that variable, and I'm going to use the authenticate method, which is declared inside my logins helper. So here my authenticate method here will check if the email and password entered inside my login form exists inside our database. So here we are going to get the input entered by the user using this the params like that. So email, this is the name of the input of this input. So I'm gonna show you quickly. So view logins new. So email is the name of this input, this text field here. So because the input submitted by the user inside that form are processed in form of hash, so we access that hash using the params keyword, and we access the email parts of it like that. So params of email, and then params of here the name of the second text field, which is the password field, is the name of it is password. So here I have to type password. So if that is different from nil, so if user, which is which a variable that contains the result of the execution of this method here, if user, so sorry, I'm wrong. So if user is different from nil, so I will redirect to root path. So and else I will redirect to the sign in path. Okay, so I will jump to the, I think I have to, here I have to add this tag here. So I don't want all the input to be the text field. I don't want them to be in the same line, so I have to do like this. Okay, so now after doing that, if the user doesn't pronounce email, so if the user doesn't redirect to root path, so I want to check config routes root path. I don't want him to, for example, let me redirect him. If the email and password exist, I want to redirect him to users path. Okay, so if the login is successful, the user will be redirected to the index page of the user's controller. Okay, so I'm going to type I'm going to create this view. So ERB file, I'm gonna call it index. Okay, I'm going to just to put the each one here, welcome to my app. I will change that to you are successfully logged in. Successfully, with the S here. Okay, so now I'm going to add something to my index view. So index here. So now after, if I am logged in, I want to be logged in to this if I am logged into my application, I want to display the name of the user which that is logged in. So here I'm going to use the current user method. As you can see, the user can see it, and here I'm going to type the name of the property that I want to use from the current user object. So full name. So if I am successfully logged in, I will be redirected to this page here, and this page here will display the name of the user which is logged in. So this is very this is so simple indeed. Okay, so I think everything is done. I hope I didn't forget anything. I will try to run the application now. So I think I have to add something else. So login. Okay, so here if a user for example doesn't have an account yet, so he must have a link here that redirect us to the sign up page. So here I'm going to use a helper called link to. So link to take two parameters. The first one is a string, so this link to, it like his name is mentioned, he will create a link inside our page. So link to this is the display text of the link. So you don't have an account already, and the second is a path. So I'm going to if the user clicks, say that I am using the application for the first time and I don't have an account for this application. So inside my login view, I added this link. So to add this link that will redirect me to the view where I can create my account, I have to use this helper. This helper is called link to. Link to will create a link inside my view, and this helper takes two arguments. The first one is a simple string, which is the display text for the link. So when I open my view, I will find a link which displays this text, you don't have an account already. And the second parameter is the new user path, which is a RESTful route that will take me to the new view that will allow me to create a new user account. So I found that I forget to add a method call here, so I have created the login method inside the login helper. I forgot to add the parameter here, so the login method will take one parameter, which is a user, and don't forget to call this method inside your create action inside your logins controller here after the if statement. So now I added another thing inside my new user here, so you can specify the range of the years inside your date select helper here. So the start year will be from 1980 and the end year will be 2013. So if we run our application, we will see the results. Let me just stop and run my server, and we will go to localhost on port 3000. I will now. The server is not running. I don't know why it's not running. So okay, so as you can see, the root route of our application we will be redirected directly to the root of our application, which is the login page. So here the user will enter his email and password, and he will try to log into our application. But in our case, we don't have an account already, so we will click on this link here, which is generated by the link to helper that we saw inside the new view under views login. So if we click here, we will be redirected to this view here, which is under user new, which is the new user path. So here the changes that we made inside the date select helper. So as you can see now, the range of the years here is from 1980 to 2013. If we go here, for example, and we delete this piece of code here, to show you the difference. So if I go here and refresh the page, as you can see, the range of years is between from 2011 and 2021. So I'm going to get back to my IDE and set it back, and I'm going to refresh my page, and as you can see, it displays the range of year from 1980 to 2013. Okay, so now I'm going to create a new account. I'm gonna call it, for example, Ahmed, for example, Ben Slimane, and for example, let's say the year of birth. Let's say Ahmed is born in 1995 in June, and it is on 20. So his email is Ahmed at bar.com, and let's create a password for him. Okay, let's hit register, and as you can see, after the sign up, the application redirects us to the login form, so the user can perform the authentication. Okay, so let's type the name, the email here, so ahmed@bar.com, and let's type in the user password. Let's hit OK, and the user is successfully logged in, and as you can see here, he is redirected to /users, which is displayed handled by the index action inside the users controller. And as you can see, we can display the user name because we are using the current user method that retrieves the ID of the users from the session object and retrieve the user name based on that ID. So this is all from for this tutorial today. It was a long tutorial, and I hope you like this tutorial, so please like and subscribe, and see you in the next tutorial. Bye bye.